Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about game modes. And I make a lot of videos where I either reference game modes and I talk about why they need to be changed or need to be updated or need to be completely revamped. We've talked a lot about dimension missions, or I make entire videos speculating or suggesting brand new content. And I think there's been a lot of debate lately about, Giant Boss Raid, World Event, Danger Room. So I think that's really good. And so I wanted to encourage that, but I also wanted to do it in a fun way. So I did a little bit of background work, and I want to show it to you right now. This is Nope, that's not what I want to click. This is tiermaker.com, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. It's just a fun little website where you can find tier lists and you can sort of do them and share them with people on Twitter or social media or whatever. Or you can make your own by providing your own images. So you can see here at the bottom, I screenshotted all of the different game modes that exist right now in Marvel Future Fight. It cut off the names of the game modes, so it just has the picture and the description. But I'm sure you savvy Marvel Future Fight fans can figure out what all of these are. And so I wanted to go ahead and rate them all and rank them all. And I think it'd be a really nice, easy visual representation to show to Netmarble and the Marvel Future Fight devs so that they can get an idea of which game modes we love, which game modes are okay, and which game modes we think suck. So the very first ranking, I actually want to do two lists. I have two tabs open here. You can't actually tell the difference between them because they're the same. But I wanted to rank one of them in terms of my most favorite to least favorite, and then I wanted to do another ranking of most needing and most desperately needing a rework versus least desperately needing a rework. And I'm sure most of you can guess that those two lists are probably going to look inverted, because the game modes that I love probably don't need to be changed in my opinion, and the game modes that I hate probably do need to be changed in my opinion. But sometimes you hate a game mode and you don't want it to be changed, you just don't want it to exist. So there's also that. Keep in mind, guys, I want things to be civil. I want things to be, constructive. I don't want someone to just be like, lol, all these game modes are bad, just put them all here, haha. Like, that's not really going to be helping anyone, and that's just going to make you look like a jerk. So please try to be nice, please try to be respectful, and of course, have fun. Do this yourself. I want to see your versions. I want to see your tier lists for all the game modes in Marvel Future Fight. So send them to me on Twitter, send them to me on Discord, etc. But now let's get into it with my ranking, and we're going to start with the S tier game modes that I think are just amazing. They don't need to be changed at all. And so I think right away, probably my favorite game modes right here, we put World Boss right at the top, and we put Shadowland right next to it. Now, I actually hesitate to put Shadowland in S tier because I think Shadowland Plus is really bad. So I actually am going to dock Shadowland points, because although I think Shadowland 1 to 30 is great, I think it's starting to get too easy, especially with the caliber of new characters that we're getting in Marvel Future Fight. Like, Dr. Voodoo with his all defense down and all of his different mind control, self-healing, etc. He makes short work, even at tier 1, of most Shadowland stages. So I really do think that they need to upgrade the difficulty on regular Shadowland, or they just need to completely revamp the game mode. To be honest, the more I think about Shadowland, the more I liked Shadowland, but it's kind of, it's 2017/2018. It's kind of, Shadowland has been eclipsed by level 70s and gear 25s and tier 3s. It's sort of outlived its day. So I think for a lot of people, Shadowland, once you get past stage 30, it's just a stat bump. It's just a stat stick. Oh, the enemies have more HP, they take longer to die. That's not really an interesting game mode. So yeah, I'm actually going to put it in the B slot. I talked myself down. But World Boss is amazing. I love World Boss Ultimate. There's challenge there. You can modulate the challenge, so if you don't feel like being challenged, you can go down to stage, whatever, 1. And if you want a challenge, you can always push up to 99. I think it's great. I would like to see possibly some new mechanics that the bosses do if you go up to higher stages rather than just increasing their HP. But, it is a mobile game. There are constraints and restrictions on how much they can actually put into the game files in terms of the code. This is not a fully fledged MMORPG or ARPG like Diablo 4 will be, so we can't really expect it to be godly. I want to put Giant Boss Raid in S tier as well. I don't think it's quite as good as World Boss because it doesn't have as much variety. World Boss has much more variety than Giant Boss Raid. Giant Boss Raid is basically just 2 different bosses, but I love the fact that you can unlock Silver Surfer from Giant Boss Raid. So it's very similar to World Boss, but I think it's a little bit down because it's a step down. It's a little bit worse because, there's 10 bosses you can fight, and you can fight and get tier 3 materials from now 7 out of the 10 bosses. So you have basically 1 boss every week, tons of variety. Here, you have 2 bosses per week, much less variety. Imagine if you could only fight Proxima and Cull Obsidian. Well, I do remember because that's how it used to be. Moving on, I think we also need to bring Epic Quest in here, putting it, I would say, reasonably in the A tier along with Giant Boss Raid. Now, my issue with the Epic Quest is it's too short. It's too short / it's too easy, and I say that because I'm playing recently King of Fighters All-Star. If you guys haven't played that, they also have an Epic Quest game mode there, and it doesn't seem to be as rewarding as the Epic Quests in Marvel Future Fight, so the rewards are worse, but the challenge is a lot higher, and they have really cool sort of buffs that as you play the game mode in the Epic Quest in that game, as you play every day and you do the tasks every single day, and you're sort of recommended to go back every single day because you get some rewards, it gets easier and easier. So it's kind of like World Boss, where as you play World Boss, you get raid XP, which increases your raid level, which increases your valor, which will make the bosses do less damage to you, and it will make them take more damage from your attacks. It sort of has that built into it, so I really like their system, and it sort of shows me the limitations of our current system. And also, let's be honest, it's like really easy. If you spend some crystals here and there, you can get through the Epic Quest in like 3 days flat. If it's an epic quest, if it's that epic, it should take a lot longer than 3 days. It should take like 3 weeks at minimum for all players, even the spending players. Moving along, I think we should probably point out some of the game modes that I don't like. So I personally think that co-op is a really bad game mode. It has no challenge, it doesn't teach the player anything, it doesn't even require the player's interaction, it's just autoplay, autoplay, autoplay. You just select your character and run through. There's very little penalty. The only penalty for not getting first place is that you spend a bit more time, and if you're using clear tickets, you spend a few more clear tickets auto-running characters. That's it. There's you know, it's just a game mode for VIPs to get more rewards, and it's mandatory because the rewards are so good, especially considering the effort you put in. Like, you put in, you know, 10 minutes of auto playing and you get 2 million gold. That's like amazing. No game mode compares to that except possibly Dimension missions. And I have to say, I do also really like Dimension missions because they reward you for playing them. They also give you rewards if you just auto them. And the tokens are amazing and flexible, so you can sort of decide what you want to do, how you want to build out your account. On the flip side, I think Alliance Tournament is absolutely garbage for the same reasons as co-op. It is very difficult, it's very challenging because you're fighting against other players, but it takes all the autonomy out of things because you don't get to play with your players, with your characters. It's autoplay only. I think game modes in mobile games that are autoplay only, unless it's an auto battler like auto chess or something like that, should not exist. I think auto only is an aberration, it's garbage, and it needs to die. There should always be an option to take control. What am I spending money for if I can't actually play with my characters? It's just ridiculous. Like, even if I buy a self-driving car, I should be able to you know, control things as far as the car is concerned. The car doesn't just take me where it wants me to go. Similarly to Alliance Tournament, I think Alliance Conquest is also big doo-doo. Now, I actually rank Alliance Conquest as worst doo-doo. I mean, this would be the worst, the furthest over here, because this involves not just, you know, your alliance, but 2 other alliances that have to suffer in conjunction. And while the #1 ranking teams for Alliance Tournament can get some really good rewards, like the Mythic Tournament chest can have Mythic comic cards, and the VIP for the Alliance Tournament gets 5,000 crystals, no, there's no good rewards in Alliance Conquest. So not only is Alliance Conquest autoplay only, not only does it waste your time, but the rewards are absolute garbage. First place gets 2 million gold. That's not worth the hours and hours and hours that you're going to pump into it when you can literally spend 10 minutes to get 2 million gold, or you can spend hours every day for 4 days to get 2 million gold. These 2 game modes are honestly like 0 effort, good rewards, insane effort, and garbage rewards. I mean, by comparison, compared to the effort. But yeah, anyways, moving along to game modes that I think are slightly better. I think World Boss Invasion is good, but I will still say that I don't think it's as good as Shadowland because it's just not challenging enough. The rewards are very good for the time spent, and you do have some way of affecting your results by bringing in characters that are built better, bringing in multiple tier 3 characters to increase your chances of getting a higher tiered reward from basic all the way up to mythic, and they have good, you know, items inside, biometrics, gold, etc. But the challenge is just too small. This is a game mode from 2016. It hasn't been updated, it hasn't kept up, and so tier 3 characters, even tier 2 characters, one-shot the boss 9 times out of 10. A game mode that I really like but doesn't necessarily have the best rewards day to day, it does have good singular rewards, is the Legendary Battle. I think the Legendary Battle is fantastic. I love the little missions that you go on with characters. I love the story, and I love the sort of animations of all of it, and the little movies that they make, and the sort of what-if scenarios. And the one-time rewards can be very good, although too many of them lately have been RNG-based, like Thanos Type 6, Captain Marvel Type 6, Spider-Man Type 6, etc. The story mode, I think, in Marvel Future Fight is really bad, but you know what? It is still a story mode. They did their best to make a story for this game, and you have to give them credit for that. There are some good rewards bundled in there, like getting Odin and getting the Blue Marvel CTP of Energy type thing. So you know what? I think they tried, and there's a decent variety of level design, I will say, in Marvel Future Fight for the story. It definitely needs a rework. I think everything from the B tier down absolutely needs a rework, but, you know, it could be worse. It's definitely not that bad. Now, one thing that I think people are going to disagree with me on is Timeline Battle. I'm actually going to put Timeline Battle here, because although I think Timeline Battle is desperately in need of a rework, I like Timeline Battle. And I like Timeline Battle because it actually it changes. It actually evolves. And it's not evolving because of the game mode. It's just evolving because the game mode involves characters that are getting stronger. So no one was using Quicksilver 2 months ago or 3 months ago when Thanos got his tier 3 in Timeline Battle. Now he got his tier 3. You see a lot more Quicksilvers. It's constantly evolving, and this is sort of the best part of PvP, and it's something that Netmarble needs to, and the Marvel Future Fight devs need to tap into more. But as it stands now, it's still pretty fun. You know what? Honestly, World Event is also pretty fun as well. It's not something that I play very often, so I can't really say that I'm a diehard fan of it, but it's really not that bad. I think the rewards could be a little bit better. I think they should give us a bit more flexibility in the agent bonuses. I think they should add a couple more there that they haven't thought of yet. Perhaps having like energy reduction and things like that. So for players who play a lot and they just want reduction on certain game modes, perhaps they could reduce things like World Boss Invasion with things that have a flat cost, or if you play like a ton of Giant Boss Raid, you could have a energy reduction on that if you just want to spam that all day, and then they could sort of limit the number of times you can refresh per day so people aren't abusing that in a bad way. But I still think it's a pretty decent game mode. And then we come down to Heroic Quest, Danger Room, and Alliance Battle. So I think Alliance Battle is pretty doo-doo, but it's probably the highest of the doo-doos. So we're probably going to put it low C tier next to the story mission. It's really bad, but it could be a lot worse. It's sort of like an arcade mode. It's sort of like, you know, pushing to your highest level type game mode. I actually do really like Danger Room. I think Danger Room still needs a lot of work, but I do think it's a good game mode. So we're going to actually put it at the top of B tier. I'm tempted to put it in A tier. And then the Heroic Quest, we're going to put it at the bottom of B tier. I like the Heroic Quest, and I like the fact that it's a lot easier to complete now, and that all the missions are the same across all of the different Heroic Quests. I think they should have done that from the beginning, but I still think it needs a little bit more flavor so that we actually feel like we're going on a quest for the specific character, perhaps playing with the character more, or having certain quests involving building the character, you know, as part of the quest would make sense. So, you know, maybe at the end of Chapter 1, you have to level the character up to 40, and at the end of Chapter 2, you have to level them up to 60, and so on and so forth. That would, I think, make a little bit more sense. So this is what my tier list looks like for the best to worst game modes in Marvel Future Fight. World Boss Ultimate takes the cake by far as the #1 game mode in Marvel Future Fight. Challenging. The challenge is editable. It's modular based on what you want to do and what you can do. And as you play it, you will be rewarded, and it will get easier over time. So even for players who are just playing the lowest possible stage, they will always see improvements over time, which is good because you're investing your time. And I love the boss fights because the mechanics of the boss fights include regular attacks and telegraphed attacks, which I think is just beautiful for any type of game of this nature with a joystick and with skills like that. On the flip side, Alliance Conquest, Alliance Tournament, complete dogshit game modes. You can't control your characters. That absolutely needs to be flushed down the toilet, and we need to never see that again in Marvel Future Fight. Flipping over to the other side, I want to do a really quick rundown of the game modes that need to be reworked. So this would look mostly like an inversion, and of course right up at the top has to be Conquest. The reason why Conquest needs a rework before the tournament does is because it involves 3 alliances, and because it involves all alliances. Any alliance, as soon as they get to like level 10 or 15, they can compete in Alliance Tournament, or in Alliance Conquest, whereas the tournament only involves a maximum of like 400 or something players. because it's only the top 16 teams. So it's like 16 times 40, which is not 400, it's 640. So yeah, hundreds of thousands of players versus 640. I have to take the utilitarian approach and say that Conquest needs it way more badly. Way more. It needs a rework way more than the Alliance Tournament. The Alliance Tournament desperately needs a rework as well, but not as bad as Alliance Conquest. Additionally, I will put PvP, aka Timeline Battle, right up here, because although I like Timeline Battle and it was on the B tier, you know, PvP and Marvel Future Fight should be way more complicated, way more robust. It should have way more different options. The fact that there's just 5 leagues and the fact that you can get through the leagues every week, it's just brain dead. It's way too simplistic for a game that has over 200 characters. It's just completely unacceptable. Moving along, I think Danger Room should be a top priority for reworks as well, because it's a game mode that's hot and it's a game mode that a lot of people are playing and a lot of people want to be reworked. I honestly don't think World Boss Ultimate needs many reworks at all, so that's why I'm going to put it here. I think it's really, really good as is. I think the only reworks that Giant Boss Raid really needs is just more giant bosses, so that's just kind of something that can come or go. It's not a big deal. Heroic Quest could use some reworks, as could the Epic Quest, but I think they sort of go hand in hand, but you can't really rework Epic Quest after the fact, so I'm not really sure where to put the Epic Quest in relation to the Heroic Quest. I think World Boss Invasion is also pretty bad and needs to be reworked quite heavily. I also think the story mode needs to be reworked. I don't think Dimension missions need to be reworked. I don't think the Legendary Battle really needs to be reworked at all. I mean, they're going to add stuff, but it doesn't need to be reworked from the ground up. I do think that the Alliance Battle also desperately needs, Alliance Battle and Alliance Battle Extreme desperately needs a rework. I think Co-op needs a rework as well. I think Shadowland needs a rework, and then I don't think that the World Event needs a rework. I just think it needs a few tweaks, maybe a few other rewards that aren't just, maybe like a couple of extra rewards like gold or some other resource that, you know, you can get every day and feel good about, even if you're not pushing your agent level. So actually, you know what? I'm going to put it here. So this would be my rework. This would be my ranking for game modes that desperately need a rework versus game modes that desperately do not need a rework. So I encourage you guys to make tier lists and show them to me, and they can be about anything. So just let me know what your topic is, if it's the most fun, if it's the one that takes the longest, the most boring, the one that's been around the longest, the one that you feel is the most, you know, faithful to the comics. Do whatever you want. You've got the game modes. You've got the link down below in the description. I look forward to seeing your creativity. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.